Hi, Grant Grizzlies. It's Mrs.Ali here. I'm excited to be doing another guidance lesson with the Toolbox Tools here with you all. I'm here with two of my good friends.
Hi, Grant Grizzlies. This is Mrs.Lucy.
Hey, Grant. Sorry, I was on mute. Another week closer to breaks, and everybody's been doing a great job. I can't believe it. Every time we do these videos, I can't believe it's already been a week.
I know, this is kind of going fast this school year, surprisingly. So we hope that everyone is staying safe and staying healthy. We hope that you're enjoying the guidance videos that we're making for you. We miss being in person with you and seeing you at school. So we hope that these guidance lessons are helpful with navigating the challenges that come with distance learning and living through the pandemic right now. So we're going to talk about another toolbox tool. You've heard us go over a few. We've talked about the garbage can tool, letting the little things go, the breathing tool to calm myself and check in, along with some others. Last week we did the listening tool, which the listening tool is the one where you're listening not just with your ears, but also with your eyes, with your heart, and with your mind. And when we talked about the listening tool, you might remember we talked a little bit about empathy. And maybe that was the first time you've heard of the word empathy, maybe not. But today's tool is actually called the empathy tool. So we're going to talk a bit more about what empathy is and what that means so you can better understand. So empathy is a very important tool because empathy is how we learn how to care for ourselves and how to care for others. The way we think about the empathy tool is it's like a level. If you've seen somebody building anything, they need a tool called a level to help them make sure that they're building something so that it's even, the weight is even. So when we think of the empathy tool, I want you to think of that level. We're trying to make sure that we're doing the best to care for not only ourselves, but to also care for and consider others. That's what empathy is. It's noticing how another person is feeling and being able to understand what that must be like for them. Empathy is caring about someone else. Empathy is the root of tolerance, kindness, and forgiveness. So it's important for us to practice empathy, not only with other people and considering what's going on for them, but also being able to turn empathy inward for ourselves and see what we need to care for ourselves as well.
So with empathy, first question is, what are some situations you've seen someone act kindly towards someone else? And why might they be acting that way?
That's a great question, Mr. V. As you are saying that, I can think of many situations, but I'm going to stick to one that I see at school a lot. When recess is happening and sometimes friends get hurt, what I've noticed is other friends going to help that hurt friend by either walking them to the office or giving them the shoulder so they can lean on them and walk. So if somebody hurt their knee, I've seen a lot of students come in and bring in their friend because they're hurt. So that's a situation that I can think of.
And why do you think they act that way?
I actually think they act that way because they have experienced the same thing. Maybe they were hurt before and they needed help. And maybe somebody came and helped them and it made them feel good.
I think Miss Lucy was exactly right. I think that empathy, a lot of times, you're able to understand what somebody feels because of an experience that you've had. So a lot of times you're drawing from your own knowledge to support that person. And it doesn't have to be something huge. It doesn't have to be somebody hurt. I've seen it in school where someone is walking down the hallway and they forgot to zip their backpack and all their stuff's falling on the floor. Well, that might be a little embarrassing, or they just need some help so it's faster and they can get to school, and someone else may have had that happen before or would understand what that would feel like, and they're helping pick up. It doesn't have to be something huge, and you don't have to have had the experience before or understand what the person feels like, but it is helpful if you can try your best to understand maybe what they feel like. look at their face, read their cues. Do they look embarrassed? Do they look hurt? So that you know what hurt feels like, you know what embarrassed feels like, and you can still understand without having that actual experience.
Yeah, and I was thinking while you're talking about that, Mr. V, when we're saying sometimes you have experienced that, another thing with empathy is understanding sometimes you can think of what you might like someone to do for you if you were in that situation. So I know we've had times where we're in the Grizzly Den and we have talked about conflict and had to do some problem solving between students who are having some conflict. They're having an argument maybe, and a lot of times what shows empathy is when one of the students says something that's really not kind, and then they can apologize, and the other student, of course they're hurt. It doesn't feel good to have people say things to us that are unkind and that are hurtful, but the other student can say they forgive them. And you know what? That's considered empathy, because that's being able to say, what this person did didn't make me feel good and it hurt me, but I'm going to forgive, because I would hope if I ever do something that isn't very nice and I realize and then I feel bad and I ask for them to, I apologize and I ask for forgiveness, I hope the other person could do that for me too.
Have you ever heard that phrase, walking in someone else's shoes? What do you think that means in relation to empathy?
Oh, when you said that, what does it mean to walk in someone else's shoes? You know, maybe people can mistake it by, well, really walking with somebody else's shoes. But in reality, what I think it means is that going back to the situation when someone gets hurt at recess, maybe that friend that is helping has had the same thing happen to them. So if you have experienced the same kind of hurt or the same kind of embarrassment or something similar to what your other friend is going to, or a peer, then that's walking in someone else's shoes, that you have had that situation happen to you before. That's what it really means.
I think you're exactly right, because it doesn't, you're not actually going to understand how somebody feels by actually putting on their shoes, right? Like I can wear Miss Lucy's shoes and not know how she's feeling, and I might also look a little silly. But understanding what they go through and what they've been through is walking in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah, and when we talk about understanding, empathy also means you don't have to know exactly what it's like to try to understand. I don't know exactly what it's like to be Mr. V. I can try to understand what it's like to be, for him to be who he is, for him to go through what he goes through. That's called empathy. You know, one of the examples I think of is Mr. V and Miss Lucy know that I have anxiety. Sometimes I worry a lot and I can get really stuck in my head. And one of the things that really helps me is that when I am feeling worried and I'm stuck on something, Mr. V and Miss Lucy don't go, well, geez, Miss.Ali, maybe you just need to stop worrying or think about something else. No, they help me think about how maybe that's hard for me to be so worried and get stuck on something. And then they try to think of what it would be like for them and what would help them. So empathy is also, you don't have to know exactly what it's like, but you can try to understand the other person and think of maybe what would be helpful for them.
Yep, and we've all grown up different, and we all have different lives, and we've all experienced different things. And so it's very hard to understand everything about everybody. But it is, you can use a lot of the tools that you've learned before, that we've even taught, in order to help you empathize. So like the good listening tool, when you're listening well, that will help you empathize. When you're able to listen well, you can understand how people are feeling. The other part is you are able to read cues. So you can see, just like the zones, if they're in the red zone, you can usually see that on their body language and their face, and you can understand what the red zone feels like, no matter what the situation might be. You know what the yellow zone might feel like. You know what the blue zone might feel like, and you can see that. You don't have to know exactly what happened, and they might not even want to tell you what happened, but you're still able to support them.
So when we're talking about what it means to think about walking in someone else's shoes, what kinds of things would you think about when you're trying to understand someone else, Miss Lucy?
Okay, so what I think about is when I'm trying to understand someone and what they might feel like, I can try and think about what problems that person might be having or what they're going through for that day. Like, for example, if someone at school is on the red zone, one of my students is on the red zone, and I see them and I see that they're really, really upset, then I'm going to try to understand them. I'm going to try and put myself in their shoes. I'm not going to tell them, well, knock it off, silly. What's wrong? Or forget about that. No, I'm going to try and understand what they are feeling and try to help them move on to a different zone. Hopefully the green one. But if that's not possible, the yellow one is a good one too. Another question that we might ask ourselves is, what kinds of problems might that person be having? What is the person responsible for? And what might make that person happy, sad, frustrated, etc.? So when you're thinking about empathy, think about all those questions. Think about what the person went through. Think about why they might be feeling that way and what makes them feel that way. Use kind words, or even just listen, like Mr. V said earlier. Go ahead and use some of the other tools we have taught you so that you can help that friend.
And one other thing, there has been times that I didn't know what to do or how to respond. But another thing you can do is you can ask. Most of the time, if someone needs something or wants something or could use the help, you can just ask, how can I help? I don't understand. I don't know what to do. What can I do for you? And if they need help or they want something, most of the time they'll be able to help you understand what they need.
That is so true, Mr. V. And sometimes what I've seen with some of you guys, when you don't want help or you're feeling really frustrated, I've seen you say, not now, or you just don't say anything. And that's okay. What the other person that is trying to feel empathy could say, okay, just know that I'm here if you need me, and just stay quiet until they do ask, because maybe they do need that extra time to calm down.
All right, so since we've talked about what empathy is, what it means to consider others when we're trying to understand and work through a situation, I want us to go ahead and do an imagination practice with using the empathy tool now. So we've done a few of these, so hopefully you're comfortable with what we're gonna do right now, but I'm gonna walk us through it all together. Okay, so we're going to place both feet on the floor. Put your hands on your knees or on your desk, whatever is more comfortable for you. Sit upright with your head balanced easily. Your body is calm. You can focus on something that's close to you, not too far away from you, but something you don't have to think about what you're looking at. All right, we're gonna take 3 slow belly breaths together. I'm gonna count them for us to help us relax and get ready. Okay, so breathe in with me. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Last one, breathe in. Breathe out. All right, remember that your heart is your most important empathy connection to yourself and to others. Remember, your heart can tell you a lot about what you're feeling. It can help you imagine what someone else might be feeling. Notice how your own heart can shine a light on the empathy that is inside of you. Then notice how your heart helps you notice what a friend might be feeling when they are having a bad day. Remember, you can always ask yourself, I wonder what happened that made my friend feel that way. Now remember that empathy is a part of who you are. It's something that's inside of you that you can access anytime you need it. Now go ahead and wiggle your toes, wiggle your hands. We're going to take another deep breath to come out of our imagination practice. So go ahead and take a breath with me. Breathe out. Remember that empathy is something you can use anytime. That tool is so important for helping us know not only what we need, but what we can think about that others might need, and trying to understand what they're going through, why they feel the way they do, and trying to understand them better. Thanks for being here with us today, Grant Grizzlies. We hope you have a great week. We hope to see you at lunch groups soon, and we'll talk to you again next week. Bye.
Bye, Grand Grizzlies. I hope you have a good rest of your week.